habits are. That's it. Otherwise, the whole coordinate system is as equal to as a geometrical condition. So it's the same.
Some amount of memory.
Yeah.
So what happens if sometimes you are loading multiple algebras, there is some amount of memory, but if you are unloading, the memory is not clear. Then your
you have to use proper classes for that. There are things like movable loader class where you will get proper events like the on progress event, on complete event, and everything you will get. So you can engage the user while the file loads, and when it is unloaded, you can delete that object so it will be unloaded.
Okay. Because
it's a payment kind of application.
Yeah.
Can that kind of applications be created on Flashlight?
For Flashlight, which Flashlight can consume, then obviously you can do that. You can always have a friend. Like if you go to the PVR Cinemas site, it's a full.
for those of you who have been following his work, he's here to make a brief announcement, so I'll just let him speak.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm giving a little workshop at the Momo office on Monday evening at 6:30. It's about a little application that encrypts text messages, and I will also talk about surveillance of mobile phone communications. So if you're interested in joining the workshop, please come around. I can't give you directions to go there, but I guess you can. And we also have a hands-on part, so bring your mobile phone, we can install the software and exchange encrypted messages.
Thanks, Uri. I think we can break for lunch.
What I'll do here is we'll create this application. Okay? So here what I will be touching base upon is data and loading. We'll exchange some amount of data. Because Flickr API do require some key which is required for a development purpose. So I have that key already with me. But if you want to create such an application, you have to go to the Flickr data services, generate an API key and use that. We will be loading images, obviously, because these are the real-time images from Flickr. We'll do XML parsing. This is a very important feature of Flashlight as such, or Flash as such. What I do here is a bit primitive, but with Flashlight 3, ActionScript 3, that E4X has come into picture, and you can do XML parsing very seamlessly. But I'll do the older way here. I'll use the older way here. Key navigation. I'll show you how to use keys. Like here we have a navigation of right and left. I use the right and left keys to navigate between pictures. So you can see in this interface it will fetch the top 20 interesting images of Flickr, and if you see that 4 of 20, that's the fourth image of the 20 images array. So I'll go use the left and right keys to navigate between them. I'll use a preloader also, and I'll show how the preloader works. While you load the image, there's some network latency time which is required to load the image. So how to detect that and keep the user engaged with multiple creative ways. And I'll be touching on layout, basically how to lay out your assets on the stage and how to use them. Okay, so let's go to the Flash IDEA again and close this app. So okay, the next one is this Flickr Lite application. You can name anything, so you can give any fancy name. Here the stage is the same again, 240 320. If I will not show you, when you open a file new, say ActionScript 2 file, here by default is a 550 to 400 stage size. You have to change that depending on the phone that you will be targeting. So you can change that here. You can say edit, and you can just type the pixel value here for different height, and you can choose the background color or the frame rate. And ruler, you can the ruler which is available, I will show you that. So you can say control. So you can go to view and actually see grids and all this, show grid and guides and all this thing. So there will be a scale-based thing which will be generated there.
Control Alt R.
Control Alt R, right? Okay. Okay. Okay, fine, good. So this is the thing. So here you can specify will it be a pixel based thing, inches based thing, cm based thing, or whatever. Fine. So this is pretty much the stage. Okay, one more interesting thing is this one. Printer default, and since I don't have any quantity here, this quantity is not enabled. What it essentially does is, if you have a small ball, if you have a bigger space, you can just press Ctrl and C, okay, it will resize the stage to your contents width. So that is very handy. Okay, so let's get started. So I have changed the stage size of the stage to this one, 240 and 24 fps white background. And now first thing is, any application would require some branding, putting the logo, the header. Typically what you would do is you create a header in the footer. Here we don't have it. What you do is, now as I told you in the different text part, you can get different Swift pieces out of it. So your header footer part can be a different Swift altogether. And you can handle all those key events related to your soft keys will be in your footer, right? All the soft key events you can handle in your header footer itself. Okay, and then I have this small logo and this thing. Okay, in the layer section, I'll show you this thing. So there's a concept of masking in Flash. Photoshop also has it. Flash masking is basically you create or define an area from which you can show your content. So in this case, since the images that comes to me from Flickr might be of different shapes and sizes, okay, but I want to show some specific part of it. So that pink box or the rectangle is the area from which I show my image. And this is a mask, and just underneath the mask layer, I have this empty moving clip. There is also a new concept. Moving clips are basically containers, and you can load stuff into it. So if you create an empty movie clip, it will essentially not have any visual element inside it, but it can act as a container. So what you can do is you can supply or write the instance name for this. In this case, I have image loader as the name of this empty movie clip, and I can say image loader dot load something into that movie. So when I run this application, that will be loaded. So what is happening here? The images coming from Flickr is getting loaded inside this movie clip. And since this movie clip is under the mask, I can only see that portion of the image. That is the idea behind it. And mask basically how you create is, I'll just show you in a new file. Okay. So suppose you have shape like this, and now this is a square or whatever the rounded circle is there. There is some shape, but you want it to be visible from a circle. This can be an image, right? So what you do is you draw the circle above it on a layer above it. So you create the circle, right? You create the circle. Now what you can do is, now this is in a different layer. I just get rid of the stroke here, and okay, and I just change the color something. And now what I can do is I can right click on this layer and say mask. When I do that, only that portion of the layer below it is visible. What you can also do is it's not restricted to a single layer. You can create multiple layers beneath this, and you can show all the content from that small opening. Okay? That is the idea behind masking. So, and at the same time, if you lock these mask layers, it will actually show what real life will look like. So, fine. Let's, okay. The other element is this one. I showed you the image which is getting loaded, that empty movie clip, and the mask. Then this other element is, this one is a dynamic text box. So in Flash, there are three types of text boxes. One is static, one is dynamic, and the third one is input text box. Static text box is something where you put the text, when it is compiled, it is actually a kind of shape for the Flash file. So if you write, say, name, so that N-A-N-E is a type of shape for the Flash file. You can't change it in a static text field. This one is a dynamic text field. So you can actually give this one an instance name. If you see PERC, PERC is the name. I will get the percentage here. So that